All right, testing. All right, we should be live. Welcome back, guys. I'm gonna finish eating. I'm eating a late lunch. Sorry about that. I'm gonna finish eating real fast. We'll give people some time to come in here, and then I'll do a little recap on the day. Give me like 5 minutes. What's going on, Poncho, JJ? Good to see you guys. We're keeping an eye on Airbnb here because I doubled my shares down here. But my stop loss is super tight, 144. Most likely going to get stopped out, but we'll see how it goes. Been getting hammered this week. The only thing that made money on my main account recently was my dollar hedge and Costco. Thankfully, Costco was one of our biggest positions, so paid for a lot of the losses. But overall, it has been a pretty rough week. What's going on, Green?
Nice. Tesla and Neo starting to bounce.
Save getting hammered for the weekends. I like that. That's funny. Yeah, this week we didn't really get that memo. I sold some premium on IWM, and it literally waterfalled downward for 3 days straight. We did bottom catch it so far, knock on wood. I added on to my IWM position literally like on the low of the day, which looked beautiful earlier, but now we pulled back again, so getting a little weak. The market is really unpredictable right now. We're very choppy. A lot of moves are being reversed, kind of like what we saw last year.
Apple looks like it's going again.
Alright guys, if you're just coming in, I'm finishing my lunch, and then we'll get started. Yeah, man, my buddy Newegg was ripping today. And I texted him to see how his position was doing. He's already turned 9K into 50K. In literally like 2 or 3 days. It's ridiculous. Well, it was longer than that. He held on to it for a while, but it didn't really do anything for a long time. And then it just started shooting up recently. Yeah, I know, Poncho. It's ridiculous, man. Another 130% today. I think I said it on stream. I know I said it in Discord. But when you look at moves like this, kind of like how we started the past couple days, these moves very, very often lead to all-time high breaks. So I don't want to be like saying that it's going to break like over 100, 108 very soon. But what I will say is when they look like that, where they have like a very long consolidation, and then they start to get like a ridiculous amount of volume. Let me bring back my indicators here. When they start to get like a historic amount of volume, very, very often goes to break all-time high. So we could see this breaking all-time high very soon. And look at what it's doing right now. You see how you have just a constant higher-low structure being formed? Once it breaks through this previous like little top, it should get going. You got to watch out though. They are halting this. They got halted like 2 or 3 times today. I think it was somewhere back here. Then it got halted here as well. It got halted on the upside and the downside. What made me double my shares on Airbnb was my initial entry was a little high. So we got in for the daily breakout here, which ended up being a fake out. So I needed to fix this position a little bit. And then the 1 hour had this beautiful reversal pattern right here, where we have a morning star, which is textbook. You have the lower low there on the wick, and then the higher low here on the wick, so the bottoms are perfect. And then you have the doji here, which got broken by the 1 hour right here, so it was a nice little confirmation. And then we actually went on a run there. Beautiful run the next hour, but then it closed really ugly, and now we're selling off. So what I did, I do this a few different ways on when I'm selling premium. I'll do the same thing. So like if I have a position where it comes really close to my stop loss, but then it starts to find support, and I know that I'm going to like stop out of this, like I'm going to keep my stop loss where it is. I'm not going to move it. I tell myself like, okay, if I'm going to hold on to this position and we're this close to my stop loss, I should add on to it, because it's only going to increase my risk by a tiny amount. But if it is the actual bottom, it's going to increase my profit potential by a lot. So, for instance, with IWM, I had the same mentality. It was pulling back really hard from where I entered, but I know I'm going to hold on to this. So I added on to my position because it was finding support, and it made my average entry a lot better. And so far, it turns out to be the right thing to do. And then Airbnb, my stop loss is 144, like below 144. So it's so close to my stop loss, I might as well add on to it and then keep the same stop loss. Yeah, EDU is getting murdered. That trade's basically dead. I don't know what the hell that guy was thinking. taking those lottos, but he buried not only himself, but he buried us too. And that's the downside to following flow, right? You don't know what is making them buy those contracts. You have no idea why they're doing it. They could be hedging. They could be selling the contracts. They could be putting them into a bigger position, like not just those contracts by themselves. They could be making a multi-leg trade, right? So when you follow flow, you're kind of going in blind. And sometimes you get burnt. Oh, keep an eye on Newegg. It's trying to go back up. OP&T, thoughts on the chart? OP&T is actually... Yeah, I've seen this before. I traded this a while back. Oh, look at that move. It finally did what I was expecting fucking like a year or two ago. We traded this at... What was it? I think it was like 9? Where was this? Yeah, it was this move here in 2020. We bought this around like 9, and then we sold it at like 11.50, I believe it was. So we had a really good trade. This was on my hidden gems portfolio, where I was looking for companies that seemed like they were extremely undervalued. And this was the number one thing on that list. This company is extremely undervalued. And now it's finally starting to put that value in that I thought they were going to have a year or two ago. So they have royalties on a few different drugs. One of their main drugs is, I think, Narcan. It's one of those drugs that helps relieve overdoses. And I don't know if it's that drug or another drug. They're like the only manufacturer of this certain drug. And they have all the rights to it. And they sell it out, they license it out, and they get royalties. And they've got like 3 or 4 different drugs, I think. But just one of their drugs, the amount of money they earn in royalties was worth more than their entire company back when I bought this at $9. They had more revenue in one drug than their market cap, which made no sense. They're extremely undervalued. So now they're finally starting to explode. That's good to see. Fundamentally, man, I think this thing can definitely go higher. I think you could easily see like $30, $35. I think when I was doing all the analysis back then, I think the overall target was around 35 to 40, which is what most analysts were saying. And I kind of have the same mentality. I think it goes to 35 to 40 probably within the next 5 years, right? If you have a long-term horizon, 3 to 5 year horizon, I think you could get 35 to 40 out of this thing. What was their announcement they had today? Yeah, this is a big company, man. I think they'll definitely do well. What's their market cap now? Let me see if I can pull it up. Their market cap is 72 million. Yeah, so back when I was trading this thing, it was like 50 million, I think, or somewhere below 50 million. And they were doing like 50 million in royalties from just that one Narcan drug. They also had a new drug that they were working on for marijuana. I can't remember what it was. It had something to do with marijuana. It was kind of like the Narcan thing, but you can't really overdose on marijuana. But I think they were testing out like decreasing the highness feeling, I guess, or something like that. I was reading about it back then. But I know they're working on a marijuana drug right now. That's going through FDA testing. Peep Newegg, what's it still climbing? Yeah, 69. Look at this thing, dude. I'm telling you. It looks good. It's too high for me to buy into it. A little too risk for me. Too much risk, I should say. Micron JJ, it had a bad reaction to earnings, so I probably wouldn't play with that right now. Very bad reaction to earnings, which we talked about on stream. I was telling you guys how when things have that run up before earnings, they've kind of priced in earnings. So even if they're good earnings, they still very often sell off. I know Roblox was looking really good earlier. I called it out this morning. Looks like it pulled back pretty heavy. Yeah, it pulled back. What I like about Roblox is you're still kind of holding this little SR area. Like it was resistance, now it's support. So as long as you hold above that area, like that 80 to 85-ish, it doesn't look too bad. Sunrun, I haven't looked at recently. A lot of these growth companies have the same exact chart. Like all those growth, I guess they'd be more so Momo than growth, like the momentum stocks. They all have this same chart where they're trying to break that downtrend, and then they have a nice little run that they went on, but then they hit resistance and they're topping out. So until we start to hold above that local resistance, I would not be interested in these. You have a lot of support down here around like 50 to 51. So if you're looking for like pullbacks to buy, that wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, Momo stocks are getting hit. Yeah, Neo got crushed. That 55 target on Neo was spot on. Lockheed Martin, I haven't looked at this recently. Doesn't look too bad. If you guys notice, my chart is way cleaner than it normally is. I'm just going to be using a clean chart for stream for a little while. I'm trying to go over some price action patterns with you guys and whatnot. I know my charts are a little hard to read sometimes when I have a lot of indicators. So we'll be sticking to mainly a price chart. But yeah, Lockheed Martin doesn't look too bad. I like this little tweezer here on the weekly. Nice little tweezer bottom. I also like that you had a gap right here that you did fill, and then you reacted to that gap very bullishly. So this entire sell-off could be seen as just a gap fill, because that is acting as very strong support, right? So as long as you hold above that gap fill around like 370, 375, looks pretty good. You also have like a little downtrend right here that we're trying to break out of. Snow, yeah, snow doesn't look too bad now. You had a pretty nasty sell-off this morning. Actually, no, it held the sell-off pretty well this morning. He tried to sell off and then it bounced. Nice little triple bottom there. This looks like an ascending triangle on snow. Putting in a little flat top. Snow has a lot of resistance above you though. Like basically anywhere from 250, 255. The weekly looks really good. I like the weekly. If you can break out of this ascending triangle here, it looks pretty good. That's a nice little bottom there, Chad. Beautiful dragonfly. It's a textbook dragonfly. textbook Dragonfly with confirmation today, so that's very, very clean. You have a little downtrend right here that you're coming into, but that should be pretty easy to break if we hold like this. A lot of resistance on the indicators around like 90 to 91. Look at the pivot though. Beautiful pivot test. This is kind of like a random pivot, almost in the middle of nowhere. You bounced off of it beautifully here on that Dragonfly. You tried to go below it, and then you closed above it. So nice little warning there that you were about to spike. Yeah, it's a really clean past few days on that. Yeah, I saw Coinbase. I really thought about doubling my shares. I haven't doubled my shares yet. You are bouncing right off this pivot. You're breaking the 50-day. If it closes above the 50-day, I'm going to really think about doubling my shares. I have a really bad entry. I bought on IPO day. We bought around like 390, and then it spiked up to like 430, and we didn't sell. And then we held on to it and got crushed. If I double my shares here, my average will be, I think, like 320 to 330. So that's much more manageable. And I plan on holding Coinbase for at least a year. And one thing I was talking about in Discord earlier, if we look at Bitcoin on the weekly, let me go to XBT here. If we take a fib from the March low to the all-time high, if you guys know my excuse me, if you guys know my buy zone strategy, this is right in the buy zone. And because this buy zone is so big, you could use my other strategy where you take the buy zone of the buy zone, which would give you this right here. That would be your potential buy point. And look at how we're holding this beautifully. We tapped it on this low here. We tapped it on that low there. And we have not reclaimed the 618 to the downside. The 618 is around 27,000, right? So as long as we hold above that 618, this should be a bottoming pattern to try to push higher. The only downside of that is if you lose the 618, there's really not a lot of support until you get way down here to like 20,000. And if you're in Coinbase, when it does that, you're going to get murdered. Is Newegg breaking out? There you go, 74 on Newegg. Topped out at 80. My buddy's getting paid. This is so ridiculous to look at because this doesn't look like a big move, right? Look at that percentage-wise. That's a 70% move. This was $47 all the way up to 80. It almost doubled. That's a nasty 5-minute candle, though. That's not a good 5-minute candle. You need to see... yeah, it's not looking good. You need to see this buy up very quickly. This gravestone is usually bad news. Anything else exciting that happened today? That's pretty much it, really. Newegg was the biggest mover. We had some small moves on the tech companies. Apple tried to break out a little bit. Microsoft, same thing. Nothing too exciting, though. We had the FOMC meeting at 2 o'clock. You had a little bit of a chop fest there. It tried to bounce SPY, then it pulled back, and now we're bouncing again. It's basically just been chopping since the FOMC meeting. Oracle, let me take a look. We have a couple guys in Discord that are trading Oracle, I think. Beautiful past 4 days on Oracle. 3 white soldiers into confirmation. That's really good. Very good. Once you filled the gap and kept going, this kind of told you that this was not just a gap fill. Very clean weekly, too. Yeah, that's beautiful. So really, now you're just looking for a retest of the previous all-time high, which would be around like 84, 85. If you don't retest that level, I can't give you any fib targets from here. We could probably go down to a lower time frame. Let's see. So I could take some fib targets for like a small short-term trade like this. And that would line up with 89 to 90 would be your targets. 87.70 would be a small little resistance. Thoughts on CLX? Is that Clorox? Yeah, Clorox. Looking pretty good. Nice little daily breakout. The weekly, or the long term, doesn't look too good. Massive downturn that we're in here. We're actually breaking out of it. That's not too bad. The 50-week moving average would be around 197. You have a pivot at 192. A lot of resistance in that area. The daily, you just broke a pivot, which was holding us down there. You broke the 50 as well. That's clean. Still a lot of resistance up here, though. You have another pivot at 190, which is very similar to the pivot up here on the weekly. I would say it's trying to bottom, but you have a lot of resistance still above you. If we're looking at just price action, this area right here is very worrying. Because we have like an SR flip. You always want to watch for these zones that are very clear to the eye. Like this is very easy to spot for most traders. So if they see price starting to get into that area, they're probably going to start selling. You could even take this back even further, which makes it even stronger. You can see how it goes back to even back here. You see how you can't really count this wick because this is kind of a nasty wick, but there's resistance here, flipped into support, 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 broke it, and now resistance, right? It's a very, very key level. So I'd watch out for that. Hey, guards, what's going on, man? Airbnb not looking too good. We're probably going to get stopped out on this. Hey, Anor. How's the England game going? You guys watch soccer? I got a bet on England right now. Yeah, we're about to get stopped. Coinbase is about to stop us out. 10, or not Coinbase, sorry, Airbnb. It's 0 to 1. That's not good. It's not showing me my bet. Why is it not showing me my bet? I need England to win. No tie. Take a look at Bitcoin. So I went over Bitcoin a little earlier. I think it's starting to look a lot better. You need to reclaim the 50-day, which is around like 36,000. The biggest thing that I like, though, is on the longer time frame. It's holding that 618 support. So long term, anything from like 30,000 to 27,000 is very, very strong support. 34,000 pretty strong as well. Typically, you'll see Bitcoin will bottom around that 618 level. It loves the 618. Historically, we have seen a couple of sell-offs that have gone below the 618, so they've gone closer to the 786, kind of around the 80% mark. Some have even gone like 85%, but a lot of them have bottomed out around that 618. So we could see another attempt to push higher here if it holds on to this buy zone. It really needs to reclaim that 50-day, though. The 50-day, which is around like 36,000 on most exchanges. We need to reclaim that.
Nice bounce on Baidu.
Newegg is still going, is it really? Yeah, it's trying to. Yeah, honestly, Dom, if you look at the daily on Nasdaq, it's just relentless. This trend is ridiculously strong. We're even forking off of the trend and making a new one. So the trend is very, very strong. You're putting in new highs every day too. So it wouldn't shock me if you didn't even go for any kind of gap fill on Nasdaq. There's still more room to run. You mainly just got to watch the FANG companies. And there's still room to run. Like Apple has room. Apple just hit all-time high today. Facebook hasn't even started running yet. Like for this local move. Netflix still has room to fill the gap. You haven't filled the gap yet. Amazon just started breaking out. So yeah, you definitely have some room to run. Coinbase doing really well. I haven't doubled my shares yet. I'm still debating. You are breaking the 50-day. It closes in 24 minutes too. Thoughts on SPY for the rest of the week? It's a hard call, honestly. It's been really, really choppy. But I would definitely lean bullish, especially after the FOMC meeting, which still, they were saying a lot of bullish things, and the market reacted bullishly to that meeting. I would probably lean bullish for sure. One thing I want to talk about for you guys that weren't here yesterday, we are starting a completely free newsletter. I posted it in the Twitch and the YouTube chat. Once you guys sign up for that, it's going to ask you for your email. It's going to send you a confirmation email that confirms that we are allowed to put you on our email list. Once you confirm, it's going to send you a welcome email that comes with a free trading course. It's 160 or 170 slides. It's a beginner's trading course. If you guys are new to trading or you've been trading for like less than a year or two, it will definitely help you out. It will also give you a big discount on our Discord if you guys do want to try the Discord out. But that's not it. We're going to be releasing a bunch of educational, like infographics, write-ups, watch lists, stuff like that. So if you guys want to subscribe to that list, we will notify you on the next email. We'll probably have another email coming out in a couple days, probably 2 to 3 days. Will be our next educational email. And then basically at least 1 to 2 times a week, we're going to be having some educational content come out. I'm also going to do something on Sunday when I release the Summary of Markets, which is our weekly watch list. I'm going to make a small write-up for that watch list that I'm going to put into that newsletter. So if you guys do want to sign up to that, just click on that link, put in your email. Make sure to watch your spam folder. Sometimes it gets sent to spam. We did have somebody that had an issue with Yahoo. So if you guys have a Yahoo email, you might have an issue. Just let me know if you guys have any issues. Just send me a message and I'll try to work them out. Apple with 2.3 million calls today. That's with the what did I say yesterday? Over 2 million? There was over 2 million calls yesterday on Apple. So the past couple days there's been over 4 million calls on Apple. I have not seen numbers this high since back when we what was it, like 2020? I don't remember what month it was, but SoftBank was buying a shit ton of options. They were buying billions of dollars, with a B, billions of dollars in options. So like every day on our call scanner, we were seeing millions of calls coming in on Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, like the big boy tech names. And I have not seen numbers like this since that happened. So very interesting to see this much volume coming into tech. We don't have a free section in Discord, Pancho, but we do have a lower tier. We don't have any plans on doing a free section. We look at the stream as the free section. What just happened with the England game? They're going nuts in Discord. Did England score? England scored? Nice. Okay, good. We need England to win. We're keeping an eye on Airbnb here because it's literally 30 cents away from my stop loss. What do I think about SPY? I think it looks good. I think as long as Apple and the other big tech companies continue SPY is going to continue. What people don't realize is it's not just Qs that it's heavily weighted in tech. SPY is also very heavily weighted in tech. The FANG stocks basically dictate the direction of the market. And if you guys don't know what FANG is, it's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. They dictate the direction of the market pretty much. That's mainly for SPY and Qs. IWM doesn't follow just as much as SPY and Qs. They're not very heavily weighted in tech. Their highest weighting is in financials. So if you watch XLF, that is the financial sector. That has more say in IWM than tech does. And then Dow Jones is also not very heavily weighted in tech either. I think they are actually heavily weighted in financials as well. It's not as much into industrials as it used to be. Dude, this thing is just flirting with my stop loss. 144.01 is the low. My stop loss is 10 cents below 144. Microsoft is strong, Dom, but it's not in the FANG, technically. There's another one, I can't remember what it's called, but it includes Microsoft. There's another acronym. I mainly look at FANG. Fat Man? I think it is Fat Man, yeah. I think you're right, Jelly. What time is it? We have 15 minutes. We'll see if this thing stops us out before the end of the day. How's Newegg doing? Ooh, nasty. Nasty, nasty pullback. This is another one of my techniques that I talk about in the How to Trade series. So make sure you guys, if you guys are new to trading, watch that series. But you have sell pressure here, right? So you have sell pressure on this massive wick. You go to retest it, and you can't break through that wick. So this shows you the sellers are in complete control. And then you saw that massive confirmation candle that just came in. You see this a lot in crypto. For you guys who are crypto traders, you'll see a lot of times where like maybe you're running up and then you have something that has a big wick and then you try to push back down and you try to go back to retest the wick and there's a lot of sell pressure up here. So then you go and then you put in a lower high and then you nuke, right? Isn't SPY overbought on our side? Overbought doesn't work on SPY, man. Overbought and oversold, like that whole mentality of extension, if you will, does not work on indexes. And the reason I say that is, if you look at historically, if you look at like the monthly or the weekly or even the daily, you could say almost the entire way up that SPY and Qs and the other indexes are overbought. But they don't care. They just keep going up. Because the markets perpetually want to go higher. They are designed to perpetually go higher. So the overbought mentality doesn't work. The oversold mentality does work a little better because people are inclined to buy. But the overbought mentality, not so much. And one of the main reasons why the overbought mentality doesn't work is because on those long time frames, like the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the indexes are very fundamentally driven. They are not only driven by technicals, right? They're very fundamentally driven. You have the interest rates, you have sector rotations, right? You have anything that the Fed does, right? Basically anything the Fed can do. You have the bonds, you have the yields, you know what I mean? So with all those fundamentals that go into the markets, using such a simple technical strategy like something like overbought, it doesn't work. Now, what I will say is if you are using that kind of like overbought or oversold mentality, it's more of like a warning. Like it's warning you that like, it's probably a little extended. It doesn't mean that it has to pull back really hard. It just means like, it's probably a little extended. Like you probably don't want to be buying breakouts here. But what I would prefer to use in that sense would be just like a regular moving average. Like if we had, like if I turn my indicators on here, let's just say we hide all these. And I'll pull up like an EMA. And then we'll look at like a 21, a very common EMA. So what I would say is like if it starts getting very extended off the 21 EMA, then that's starting to tell me like, okay, this is probably a little high. We probably don't want to be buying up here. We want to wait for either some sideways action or some kind of pullback. We probably don't want to be buying breakouts. I just got stopped out on Airbnb. If you guys heard that sound, that scared the shit out of me. Jesus. What was I saying? You probably don't want to be buying breakouts if it's that extended off the 21 or like the 8, whatever short-term moving average you want to use. That would be a stronger system than looking at like an RSI or an oscillator. All right, let's make sure that we're completely out of Airbnb. Yeah, we got stopped out. All right. Take the L on that one. I'll post that in my channel. We tried to save that position, just couldn't be saved. It couldn't be saved. We tried to double up on our shares, just in case if it wanted to bounce, we'd be protected. What broker do I use? I use Tastyworks. Coinbase still doing very well. So if you guys are longtime viewers of the channel, you probably recognize this pattern here. This is a bulldog. We have a bottom. That's more of like a camel if you want to be specific, but we'll just call it a bulldog. You have a bottom, curved back, double bottom that creates the legs. Then we have the neck, and then we have the head. This is a very bullish bottoming pattern. Now, if we throw on our indicators, we can also say that we're breaking the 50-day moving average, which is also another very bullish thing to do after accumulating like this. And then we're also bouncing off the pivot here, so that's very, very, very strong. And look at all these inside bars. I have an indicator right now running these little purple dots. This just shows you where the inside bars are. When you have a lot of inside bars in an accumulation like this, it basically tells you there's a lot of fighting, right? There's a lot of accumulating going on. And now we're breaking out of it. So this looks very bullish. As long as Bitcoin can play along and Bitcoin starts to climb here, I think Coinbase will do very well. A lot of those guys have full-time jobs, Chad. A lot of people that you guys are used to hearing in voice chat that are not here, their work just got a lot busier. You hear me every day because this is my full-time job. Yeah, like Wu-Tang, he had to get back to work pretty much. Connor, who else used to talk a lot on stream? Am I missing any flow? There wasn't too much flow for me to go over today. We had a lot of like index flow coming in, IWM, Qs, mostly calls. Some calls on PLTR. People were buying the dip. That thing got hammered today. We had some calls on steel, some Tesla weeklies. These were weeklies on Tesla. The 642.50s for July 9th. Somebody trying to buy the dip on Tesla. A lot of lottos came in today. Most of them were puts, though. The big boys were puts. All the big orders were puts. Puts on Micron, puts on Neo, and puts on Lee Automotive. So a lot of EVs getting hit. What time is it? 5 minutes until close. So this morning on in Discord, we had this nasty sell-off, and I was telling you guys the most important levels were these two levels here. So once we reclaimed this 433, then we were safe to be bullish for the rest of the day. And we reclaimed that level pretty early. We had a nice, beautiful reversal here. Then we reclaimed the level there. Had a little bit of resistance around this level here, though, but it is nice that we're closing above it. This is pretty bullish here. Same thing with Qs. We had these levels right here. Finding resistance on this one, though. So Qs is a little weak. It's getting a little toppy. I don't think I did one for IWM. Yeah, so IWM actually here. We had the POC and then the range high, range low. Reclaim the low almost immediately. POC was reclaimed. You could not reclaim the high, so a little weak. We are holding that POC though, so that's not bad. The strongest of all three is definitely SPY. Yes, it is a bull flag, but in order to make a bull flag, it has to find resistance. And this isn't a bull flag for today. Today would be more of a bear flag. But if we look at it on a longer time scale, like probably like an hour, you could consider this a bull flag, but it's not a clean one. It's definitely not a clean one. It's definitely not a bulldog on the or bull flag on the daily. The daily's pretty ugly. If we go down to a 5-minute and we look at today's price action, let me just get rid of these levels. This would be more of a bear flag, a very long, extended bear flag, because we have an impulse down, and then we have higher lows into kind of a flat top here. But the flagpole, if you will, was a bearish impulse, so this would be a bear flag. Now, flags are usually more of like this. Like if you want a textbook flag, it needs to have like higher lows and higher highs. But this needs to have like low volume. But I'm not that picky. I would still consider this a bear flag. Because some people will be like, okay, well, isn't that an ascending triangle? Technically, kind of, but that's if you're only ignoring this. Because an ascending triangle is typically a bullish continuation pattern. You have a move up, and then you have an ascending triangle. You don't have a move down. You have to always see where the move is coming from. Or sorry, where the pattern is coming from. This pattern is coming from a bearish impulse. So in most cases, it's going to be a bearish pattern. Unless it's a bottoming pattern. Which this is not a bottoming pattern. And I can show you guys how I get those levels that I had earlier. It's just an initial balance. You take the first hour of the day, so 9:30 to 10:30. It gives you your volume profile, which was perfectly balanced at the time. And then it gives you your initial balance value area. So that would be the value area of that initial range. So if we could reclaim this level, that means we're a very bullish day. If we stay below this level, then we're a very bearish day. If we're in between, it's an inside day. Right? This is bearish. Because it's not able to reclaim that 361. Now, if we look at the same thing on SPY, take the first hour of the day. You see where I got those levels? Okay. Reclaim the level. Found a little bit of resistance on the highs, but then we kind of chopped through it. And we had a lot of price action above that high. So this is pretty bullish. This would be bullish, while Qs would be bearish. And then IWM is a little harder to do, because IWM is kind of just a straight down. There's no balance. So 9:30 to 10:30, and you can see where I got these levels. POC, the range low and the range high, right? But this is more of a bearish profile. And you can kind of see what it did today. This would be considered an inside day. We didn't break the low. We didn't break the high. We hovered around the POC. This is an inside day. It's accumulating. Okay. Now another thing you can do to spice it up a little bit. Yeah, have a good one, Pancho. You can grab your pre-market session, which starts here, and then it goes into here. That's the pre-market. So there's our pre-market high, our pre-market value area low. Get rid of that. Go down to a 5-minute. Now we do the same thing for the initial range. Yeah, it's over here, 9:30 to 10:30. This gives us the initial range of the morning, so we can color code these so we don't get confused. And then you can kind of see what our initial range is doing compared to our pre-market range. So this one's increasing a little bit, but not much. You see how it's increasing very slightly? It went up a little bit here, and it went up a little bit here. So that's slightly bullish. We increased the range a little bit, but not too much. So it wouldn't be like very bullish. And then finally, another trick you can do is you can grab an anchored VWAP from the pre-market session. That would be your anchored VWAP. So like when you lose that level, you're pretty bearish. When you reclaim that level, you're pretty bullish, right? So we lost that level here, started to sell off very rapidly, reclaim that level, and then we started to pump very rapidly. And I'm actually going to do a write-up on this in the newsletter. So make sure you guys sign up for that newsletter. I'm going to have a write-up on finding your initial balance, trading the balance ranges. And I'll go over kind of what I just talked about. But all right. Do you guys have any final questions? Then we're going to close it up. Is that balance profile on TradingView? I'm just using the fixed range tool. Fixed range volume profile. That's the tool that I use for that. Yeah, Jamal, I think SPY still looks pretty good. Unless we see a big pullback on tech, I think SPY is going to continue. All right, I'll leave you guys with that. One last little like and subscribe alert. That's all I got for you guys. So tomorrow, scanner stream, 9:30 in the morning. You guys know the drill. Going to go until 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to start our analysis stream at 3 p.m. If you guys are in Discord, I'm going to be posting analysis in the analysis channel probably around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. It's not too late. Be on the lookout for that. Yeah, that's all I got. If you guys sign up to that newsletter, make sure to watch your email. Like I said, in the next 2 to 3 days, we're going to have some more educational content coming out on there. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.